It's like a weird thing. It's like
just take like a couple more sections to do that.
Did you buy this pattern?
No, I already have mine.
This is my Alright, everyone finish it up. Who wants to describe the pattern that they created? Any volunteers?
I created a Pac-Man face.
Okay.
Look. And if I were to make a problem, I could say, what does Pac-Man need, right? To fill this hole, the green triangle. There.
Oh, very good.
Does it have anything different?
Anyone else create a different pattern? Catherine?
Mine, I did yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow, red.
And why is that a pattern?
Because it goes every other and it repeats.
Does it have to be every other, or can it be every 3 or 4 as well? Like, how could it?
What you guys create?
Well, one of the, which one?
Like this one is red, red, yellow, red, red, yellow.
Okay. Can anyone describe it? What is a pattern? What's a pattern?
Going.
Okay, so how does repetition? Okay, so a pattern is a set of objects or numbers in which all members are related by each other, with each other by a specific rule.
Is this a pattern?
So that was one activity to kind of introduce patterns and to try and get students to come up with their own patterns and not necessarily give them the definition, but have them try to give it to you. Okay, so this is another thing that you could do. If the pattern continues, how many squares are there in the figure that has 6 triangles? And then 7 triangles, 8 triangles, and you can use the pattern blocks to solve them.
So they would basically just use the squares and the triangles. They would split it up from the rest of the shapes that we had, and they would create this and just answer the rest of the questions, just depending on how many we asked for.
And then to move away from the concrete, we could take away the pattern blocks, and they'd have to figure it out just by looking at this pattern and then deciding. And then other questions we'd ask is what is the relationship between the number of triangles and the number of squares? And if there are 5 triangles, how many shapes are there in all? That's just another basic activity.
Okay, so how does the pattern continue? So you would use the pattern blocks to complete the worksheet. So if you flip over to the next page.
And if it's called how the pattern grows.
It's how the pattern grows. Yeah, the worksheet, that one.
These are worksheets that we got from this book, which is Navigating Through Algebra to Pre-Kindergarten to Grade 2. And so you just use the pattern blocks to complete the worksheet.
Cool.
Square.
What book is that?
Navigating Through Algebra.
Sorry.
So
No idea. No idea.
Second grade. Yes, for 2nd grade.
I really like this worksheet.
Six triangles.
okay, so basically you have the idea that you could either draw it out, you could use the manipulatives, you could use whatever you would like to try to answer the questions, but we basically did this worksheet because we felt that it slowly starts to move from the conceptual to the procedural, which is what we really liked. So that's why we did this worksheet.
And this is a smartboard activity that you could do with your students. So if I can have maybe one volunteer come up and do like maybe the first one or two.
It's basic, we can.
Lauren?
So basically you're just completing the pattern. So it says move the squares to the last plant to make it grow. So it's starting from here and Lauren's going to move the squares in the circle.
Into that flower.
You just look at the pattern.
It's a little tricky, it's a little more advanced, but it's a good like extension or like follow-up. Yeah, just do it from computer.
I feel like it's dumb if I can't do it. Wait, you're right.
Astounding!
Does anybody want to come up and do one more?
Wow.
Anyone? Sam?
Let them first describe what they see in the pattern, and then they build
So
it.
what do you see in this pattern?
Okay, well, it starts, like with the one that's circled, it starts with 1, like that's at the stem, and then it goes to 2, and then 3, then 4. So then the next one, I have 5 across, but it like bounces off like the corners of each one. It doesn't go directly on top of the square below it.
Okay, good. So
Okay.
put it in there and see if it works.
Write the numbers down. The first one has what, 3 squares, right? It's 3. The next one is what?
5,
No.
6. Oh, 6, sorry.
Great!
The next is what?
So what would you think the next one would be? Looking at the numbers or with the pattern? Why?
Because from 3 to 6, there's 3. You add 3. From 6 to 10, you add 4. But the pattern continue to it, you would add 5.
Good.
What type of numbers are that? You've seen it so many times in this course.
Are those for pass?
What shape do they make if you connect them with a straight line?
The triangle.
Yes, these are triangle numbers. They call them triangle numbers. 1, 3, 6, and so on.
Yeah, thanks.
Pardon? Yeah.
Okay, so some of the teaching methods that we used today was the constructive method, and the students had to construct their own meaning of patterns themselves, because we instructed you guys to create your own pattern and then tell us what a pattern is. We didn't give the answer or way of what a pattern was. And by doing this, some students might know what a pattern is from their prior knowledge, others might not know what a pattern is. We also use differentiation. We use a variety of strategies to represent the patterns. We showed a picture, students used manipulatives. They drew a picture, and on the worksheet you also have to explain what a pattern was. And then we started with the concrete as the students used the pattern blocks to make a pattern. Then we moved to the semi-concrete by having the students draw the next figure, and then the students determine the next pattern by just looking at the picture.
So what I'd like you to do next is turn to the worksheet that's called number rows.
We also got this worksheet from the book as well.
We want you guys to just like discuss in your partners why this worksheet is a good way to assess students. So take like a minute or 2 to do that.
Yeah. It makes sense.
What grade is this?
Second. Yeah, these activities are mainly for second grade.